kunja vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava kunja vihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahams Parivrajākacārya Ashtotara Shata Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Samstapakacharya. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. 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 All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, titled Purusha Sukta Confirmed, Text 37. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Nāhaṁ na yūyaṁ yad-ṛtām gatim vidur na vāmadevaḥ kim utāpare surāḥ tan-māyayā mohita-buddhayas idaṁ vinirmitaṁ cātma-samam vicakṣmahe nāhaṁ na yūyam yad-ṛtāṁ gatir vidur na vāmadevaḥ kim utāpare surāḥ tan-māyayā mohita-buddhayas idaṁ vinirmitaṁ cātma-samam vicakṣmahe nāhaṁ na yūyaṁ yad-ṛtāṁ gatim vidur na vāmadevaḥ kim utāpare surāḥ tan-māyayā mohita-buddhayas idaṁ vinirmitaṁ cātma-samam vicakṣmahe nāhaṁ na yūyam yad-ṛtāṁ gatim vidur na vāmadevaḥ kim utāpare surāḥ tan-māyayā mohita-buddhayas idaṁ vinirmitaṁ cātma-samam vicakṣmahe Vaishnavis. Okay. Na, neither. Aham, I. Yūyaṁ, all you sons. Yat, whose. Ṛtām, factual. Gatim, movements. Viduḥ, do know. Na, nor. Vāmadevaḥ, Lord Śiva. Kim, what. Uta, else. Apare, others. Surāḥ, demigods. Tat, by his. Māyayā, by the illusory energy. Mohita, bewildered. Buddhayaḥ, with such intelligence. Tu, but. Idaṁ, this. Vinirmitaṁ, what is created. Cha, also. ātma-samam, by dint of one's personal ability. Vicakṣmahe, observe. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Since neither Lord Śiva nor you nor I could ascertain the limits of spiritual happiness, how can other demigods know it? And because all of us are bewildered by the illusory external energy of the Supreme Lord, we can only see this manifested cosmos according to our individual ability. Purport. We have many times mentioned the names of 12 selected authorities, Dvadasha Mahajana, of which Brahma, Narada and Lord Śiva head the list as the first, second and third in order of merit of those who know something of the Supreme Lord. Other demigods, semi-demigods, Gandharvas, Charanas, Vidyadharas, human beings or asuras cannot possibly know fully about the potencies of the absolute Lord Sri Krishna. The demigods, semi-demigods, Gandharvas, etc. are all highly intelligent persons in the upper planets. The human beings are inhabitants of the intermediate planets, and the asuras are inhabitants of the lower planets. All of them have their respective conceptions and estimations of the absolute truth, as does the scientist or the empiric philosopher in human society. All such living entities are creatures of the material nature, and consequently they are bewildered by the wonderful display of the three modes of material nature. Such bewilderment is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 7:13. Tribir gunamair bhavair ebhi sarvam idam jagat. Every entity beginning from Brahma down to the ant is individually bewildered by the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion and ignorance. Everyone thinks in terms of individual capacity that this universe which is manifested before us is all in all. And so the scientist in the human society of the 20th century calculates the beginning and end of the universe in his own way. But what can the scientists know? Even Brahma himself was once bewildered, thinking himself the only one Brahma favored by the Lord, but later on, by the grace of the Lord, he came to know that there are innumerable more powerful Brahmas as well in far bigger universes beyond this universe. And all of these universes combined together form Ekapad Vibhuti, or 1/4 of the manifestation of the Lord's creative energy. The other 3/4 of his energy are displayed in the spiritual world. And so what can the tiny scientist with a tiny brain know of the absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna? The Lord says, therefore, mohitam nābhajanāti mam ebhya paramam avyayam. Bewildered by such modes of material nature, they cannot understand that beyond these manifestations is a supreme person who is the absolute controller of everything. Brahma, Narada and Lord Śiva know about the Lord to a considerable extent, and therefore one should follow the instructions of these great personalities instead of being satisfied with a tiny brain and its playful discoveries, such as spacecraft and similar products of science. As the mother is the only authority to identify the father of a child, so the mother Vedas presented by the recognized authority, such as Brahma, Narada or Shiva, is the only authority to inform us about the absolute truth. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 2, Chapter 6, Text 37, in the matter of the Purusha Sukta confirmed. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Caitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shutpadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swamini Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nithai Kripa Pradaine Gaura Katha Damadaya Nagragramatarine Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Gopi Paranadana Dase Iti Namine Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpattarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Bande Shri Guru Dinatharinam Yatkripa Tamaham Bande Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Katanchana Smrite Yasmin Dushkaram Sukaram Bhavet Vismrite Viparitam Syat Sri Chaitanyam Namamitam. There are several important points which Srila Prabhupada makes in this purport. The Vedas presented by recognized authority such as Brahma, Narada or Shiva is the only authority to inform us about the absolute truth, which means that there are no equivalent, competing, nothing. We have only one source of knowledge, which is the Vedas. Traditionally, when there would be discussions about spiritual subject matters, the first criteria is, do you accept Vedic authority? Do you accept the Vedas as infallible? If there is no acceptance, there is no discussion at all. Zero discussion. So, discussion is generally had between two people who accept a common authority. So, when Prabhupada went to the West, the task that he had was to discuss with people who don't even accept Vedic authority. So, it is even more complicated. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussed with Prakashananda Saraswati, Prakashananda Saraswati is a Vedic follower. So, he accepts the Vedas as infallible. So, when they discussed, Prakashananda Saraswati did not have this doubt, is this true or not? The moment Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes from Vedic scripture, he accepts it's true. So, the task that Srila Prabhupada had to face, and all of us have to face while preaching is, we have to deal with people who do not even accept Vedic authority. And Prabhupada says, this is very childish. Like Prabhupada is talking, the childish experiments of the scientists. Why is it called childish? Of course, today even adults are into video games. When I was young, I never saw adults being attracted to video games or being addicted to video games. Now, not even attraction, but even addiction. And then now they've introduced virtual reality. So, for virtual reality, you generally need a glass, actually. You need to, for most whenever if you go to some exhibits or somewhere, generally you have to wear a glass. And my spiritual master, once I was in the United Arab Emirates, and he asked me to visit one virtual reality place. And he told me that we can see how to utilize this in the temple of the Vedic planetarium. So I thought, okay, let me go and see it. So I went to that place. I forget the name of the place. So they put on this glasses, and I was watching through the glasses. It looks like you're not aware of the external world when you wear that glass, and then they show you some image, and it was some jeep riding through a desert. And then suddenly you encounter scorpions. So, anyway, it was about 5-10 minutes or so, and it was the most horrible experience that I had ever experienced in life. You have going through the desert and scorpions, charging at you. And then there was another experience of some ride or something, So at the end of it, I'm not exaggerating, when I came out of it, I had nausea, from that experience. So later on, I related to my spiritual master, we could have virtual reality, provided the experience is not nauseous for those who go through it. But one thing I did notice is that when you are wearing that glass, you're stuck. You're stuck because you have no way of looking at what is outside. You can only see what is, unless you take off the glass, of course. But you have only, your vision is limited to the glass. So this is what happens in the material world. So we have a material body, and we are bound by this material body, material eyes, which cannot see anything beyond a certain distance. Forget about seeing beyond the universe. You cannot even see beyond a certain distance. We cannot see beyond the wall. So we are highly constrained in this material world. Just like, those of you who have had the experience of virtual reality, you know that you wear the glass, that's it, you're constrained. Similarly, the material body is the biggest constraint that we have. The eyes can only see a certain distance. So we have no clue right now what is happening in Calcutta. For example, with our eyes, we don't know what is happening in Calcutta. What is Calcutta? Even outside the main gate, we don't know what's happening. So Intelligence means to understand that we are totally stuck. We are very limited in our perception. So, it is explained that even great personalities, like these are Mahajanas, Lord Brahma, Narada, Lord Shiva, they're all Mahajanas. Even they cannot understand the Supreme Lord fully. To considerable extent, Prabhupada explains, and they are not stuck like us. Narada Muni is called, Prabhupada uses the expression, transcendental spaceman. So, he could travel anywhere, material world, spiritual world. So, I remember our Mayapur travels, which Bhagavatam Prabhu runs. He has Narada Muni as the logo, transcendental spaceman. I don't know if you can buy a ticket to go to other planetary systems or Goloka, but by his association, I think we can, because he's a great devotee. So, I mean, Bhagavatam Prabhu is saying. So, I don't know if you can get our tickets directly from there to any of these planets. So, the point is that even these personalities, like Brahma, Lord Shiva is just a transformation of Krishna. It's like dahi, which is, in the West, if you say curd, it means paneer. So dahi means buttermilk. Okay, let me put it as buttermilk. So is a transformation of milk. So even Lord Shiva, who is one sense considered non-different from the Lord, cannot also understand the Lord. What to speak of Lord Shiva, even Mahavishnu, with his hundreds and thousands of mouths, is trying to glorify Krishna, and he's still not come to the end of it. Of course, he knows, he's the Lord himself, but still, the Lord is so unlimited that he has not finished his glorification of the Lord. He's continuously glorifying, and the glories of the Lord are expanding. So, what to speak, as Prabhupada would say, as he's saying, a tiny brain of a material scientist. Now, to appreciate this tiny brain, in Bengal you don't have wells, but in different villages in India, I asked once somebody, why we don't have wells in West Bengal? Because there's a lot of arsenic. So, if you drink well water, you could get poisoned. So, you don't have wells in this part of the country. Whereas in other parts of the country, you have wells. And I originally hail from a place which has a lot of wells, which is Kerala. So, after I took to Krishna consciousness, once I went to a well to just to get a sense of what Prabhupada is saying, frog in the well, So, you stand in front of a well and you look inside the well, you can see it's a very limited diameter. And does not have unlimited depth either. It's got some limited depth. And there are living entities living in that well. And then Prabhupada also speaks about the ocean. So once I went to this well, then I said, okay, now I need to go to a beach. So I went to Chennai, and I went to the beach, and I'm having a look at that beach. And the contrast is enormous. There's no comparison actually between the well and the ocean. So it is even foolish to talk of a comparison. So Prabhupada says, frog in the well, what does it know? So our position is like that. Frog in the well, what can we know? The ocean is so huge. In fact, most of the planet that we are inhabiting is covered by water. So huge it is. So, and there are so many kinds of aquatics and living entities living in that, ocean. It is so huge that even in this modern technological age, when a Malaysian airliner disappeared, they have not even been able to locate where it is. Forget about, finding some remnants. They are not even able to locate where it crashed. So such huge expanse of water, and so many living entities live in that water. So, Rupa Goswami compares bhakti to a ocean. Bhakti rasa amrita sindhu. What kind of ocean? It is ocean filled with bhakti rasa, not salt water which we cannot even drink, but with bhakti rasa, and it's so huge. And Rupa Goswami says that the pure devotees are like the aquatics. They take pleasure in the waters of the bhakti rasamrita sindhu. So, if we actually study the Bhagavatam, we understand what is our position in the universe. Very insignificant, very, very insignificant. I mean, one universe itself is something which is beyond the comprehension of the human mind. In fact, the Vedic cosmology, which we are trying to do in the temple of the Vedic planetarium, even that is not easy. Our scientists, devotees are trying to understand what is Shukadeva Goswami actually describing, how does it all fit in. This is one universe, one universe. And as Prabhupada explains in this purport, Brahma thought that he is the only Brahma. But once when he saw there are so many Brahmas, he got bewildered. What is this? There are other beings like more powerful than me, and I am the smallest Brahma. So, the scale of things, both material and spiritual, are unimaginable. It is not that, oh, material nature, oh, it is some limited thing. It's not like that. It is Krishna's energy. Krishna's energy. None of Krishna's energies are limited. So even material nature is unlimited. Now, so you may wonder, where am I getting this from? Is material nature also unlimited? I once asked Sadapota Prabhu this question. Is material nature unlimited? He said yes. Then I told him, but we are jivas and we are limited. So how do you say that? So Krishna can create limited things also. So he said, but the number of jivas is unlimited. So then I understood, yeah, material nature is unlimited in the sense that something which is, for example, in mathematics, I've studied mathematics, they say infinity plus 1 is also infinity. Infinity plus 100 is infinity. So infinity itself is something beyond the comprehension of the human mind. So the concept of finiteness comes because of the fact that we are finite. So we can't conceive of what is infinity. So all of the Lord is infinite, his energies are also infinite. So one particular particle may be finite, like the living entity. One living entity is finite, but there are unlimited living entities. So that's the nature of Krishna's energies. Everything is unlimited. So once Prabhupada was walking with his disciples, and they were, I think it's on a beach, there were a group of ants, and Prabhupada began to explain that there are so many universes, and in so many universes there are so many planets, and like that he began to explain. And so he was talking about this universe, and in this universe there are so many planets. In that there is the Earth planet, and in that there are so many living entities, and there are these ants. So like that he said, he pointed to one disciple. I don't want to make a mistake who it was, so I don't want to recollect the name, but he said, and so is thinking, I'm great. So he was trying to point to us that what is our position in the universe? Very insignificant. And we are so concerned about my position, my prestige, my adoration, my this, my that, my facilities. What does it even mean? So, bhakti is a very wonderful process that we are spending a great amount of time on something which is not great. We are spending an enormous amount of time on a very tiny fragmental part of Krishna. So Prahlad Maharaj says, instead of doing all this, you don't have to do all this. He says that just like you decorate yourself and go in front of a mirror, the image in the mirror is automatically decorated. There is no separate endeavor that is needed to decorate the image in the mirror. So he says, like that, if we practice pure devotional service, if we just focus on Krishna, automatically we are also satisfied. Just like Krishna is like the decorated person. Okay, the image is like the living entity. So, if Krishna is decorated, the image in the mirror is automatically decorated. So, like that, if we simply try to satisfy Krishna, if we try to carry out the mission of Krishna, Krishna will carry out what is necessary for us. We don't have to endeavor for it separately. Now, this is not just some theoretical thing. Sometimes, as Harila Prabhu says very nicely, today's his class, at least I should say something that I've learned from him. So, supposed to be his class. So, he says, the mistake that devotees sometimes make is that philosophy is for preaching, life is for living. He says that is wrong. Philosophy is for living, life is for preaching. This is Krishna consciousness. Philosophy is meant to live and life is meant to preach. So he has correctly put it. This is what Prabhupada taught us. Which means that if Prabhupada and all the acharyas are teaching us, we are very insignificant living entities. Why to spend so much amount of time thinking in terms of I, me, mine? Let us instead think of Krishna. Let us be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Then Krishna will think of us. Like, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say, don't try to think of Krishna. Don't try to see Krishna. Act in such a way that Krishna sees you. That's it. So we just try to render devotional service to Krishna. We're not trying to, oh, let me see Krishna, let me do this, let me do that. Nothing. We're just interested in satisfying Krishna. And Prabhupada's father, Gaur Mohan De, whom Prabhupada called a pure devotee, would say that if Krishna wants to give you something with his 10 hands, how much can you take? You're very limited. So Krishna can give us unlimited things. And Krishna wants to take away something from us. How much can we protest? We're very tiny. So, if we just depend on Krishna, Krishna provides everything. So, we should be conscious of this fact that when we study the Bhagavatam, we should follow what the Mahajanas are saying and doing, because they have direct access to Krishna. Brahma Samhita, which we chant during Abhishek. What is it actually? It is Brahma seeing, directly seeing what is there in the spiritual world, and he's explaining it, he's writing it down. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu recovered the scripture from Padmanabha Swami, Ananta Padmanabha Swami temple in Kerala. Sorry, it's from Adikeshava temple in Kerala. So, this, the whole book is lost except this chapter. So Lord Chaitanya was very ecstatic when he saw this. This is Brahma's vision. It's not like hallucination. He's actually seeing it. So these are the personalities who are beyond this limited glasses of virtual reality. Actually, whatever we are seeing is virtual. It's not real because it's temporary. After some time, it's gone. So material nature is permanent, but the manifestations of material nature are virtual reality, like virtual reality. They exist only temporarily. But once, finally what exists is only matter. Just like computers. We can see fantastic images, we can see all kinds of things in that. But actually what is there is 0 and 1. Everything is generated from 0 and 1. So like that, these different manifestations are all, therefore the Bhagavatam says is illusory. Illusory does not mean it does not exist. It just means that it's a manifestation of matter which is very temporary. After some time it's going to be dismantled. So, we have to practice bhakti as taught to us by the Mahajanas. So, one important aspect of that practice is we should have the same conceptions of pure devotional service, same understanding that the Mahajanas have. For example, in ISKCON, not ISKCON, just Gaudiya Vaishnavism, in general, it is understood that the gopis are the highest devotees. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach us that. So devotees generally sometimes have this idea that I want to attain that, right? So what do? They go to Radha Kunda. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was in Radhakund is actually our property. Means like, it's our home. It's not that it only belongs to the Babajis. We have Vraja Swananda Sukhada Kunja, where Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would live there when they go to Vraj. So he was giving a lecture on the Upanishads in Radhakund. So he was criticized that, what are you doing, talking about Upanishads in Radhakund? So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say that those who think that this Radhakund is not a fit place to speak out Upanishads are actually living in Narakakund, would say, So, especially these days it's become a fashion to own a house in Radhakund, to live in Radhakund, try to become like the gopis. But this is not our line. This is not at all the line of pure devotional service. Forget what to speak of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us the highest. What does it mean? So, in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Gopakumar travels through the whole universe and goes to the spiritual world also. He's trying to find out who is the best among all the devotees of the Lord. So finally Gopakumar meets the Yadus. He's directed by different people, Hanuman, the Pandavas. Finally he meets the Yadus. And the Yadus matter-of-factly says, yes, we are the highest devotees. Not out of pride, but they matter-of-factly say. But they say, among us, Uddhava is the best. Please go to Uddhava. So, what is the glory of Uddhava? Uddhava was so close to the Lord that there was never a time, except when Krishna was with his queens in Dwaraka. Other than that, Uddhava was always with Krishna. Wherever Krishna would travel, there is never a time where they were together, inseparable. Always Uddhava was with Krishna. So when Krishna decided to wind up his pastimes, he decided to take the Yadus with him. But he told Uddhava, you please remain on this planet. Because he says, you are as good as me. You are above the modes of material nature. You are as good as me. Then he gives a specific reason that the sages at Badrikashrama, they could not get Krishna's association while he was on the planet. Therefore he says, you go and give them your association. Now Uddhava had carried the message of Krishna to the gopis in Vrindavan. And that is so wonderfully described in the Bhagavatam and Prabhupada in this Krishna book. Now, when Uddhava sees the gopis, first of all he goes to Nanda and Yashoda, then he meets the gopis. When he sees first of all the residents of Vraj, he's completely overwhelmed. And especially when he sees the gopis, he had never seen something like the love that the gopis have for Krishna. So he gets so overwhelmed by what he sees there, what he experiences there, that he desires that may I become a creeper in the outskirts of Vrindavan. So the gopis, when they travel, when they walk, they can trample me under their foot, and that way I can get the dust from the lotus feet of the damsels of Vrindavan. So he had a very high estimation for the residents of Vrindavan. But when Krishna asks him to go to Badrikashram, now Badrikashram is in the Himalayas, very cold place, not a very easy place to even go, what to speak of live there. So Uddhava doesn't think, I've been to Vrindavan. Oh my God, Krishna is asking me to go to Badrikashram of all places. Should I really do it? He's not asking Krishna, can I go instead to Vrindavan? Please allow me to be in Vrindavan. He's not talking like that. He doesn't think like that, doesn't talk like that. What does he do? He is fully satisfied to do what the Lord wants him to do. This is the characteristic of pure devotional service. He is not interested in attaining the highest and all these things. Nothing. He is interested, whatever the Lord is satisfied, whatever He wants me to do, that is my satisfaction. So that is our line, the Rupanuga line. That any pure devotee thinks like this. that let me do what the Lord wants me to do. Let me do what the Lord is satisfied that I do. So when we study Bhagavatam, this is an important point that we need to keep in mind, that our goal is to please Krishna and the Mahajanas, Prabhupada, our spiritual masters and superiors. Prabhupada established the Krishna consciousness movement in such a manner. The samsara prayers are unique to ISKCON. This is not instituted by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the Gaudiya Mutt. They sing other prayers. But in ISKCON, we sing the samsara prayers. And the samsara prayers concludes with Yasya prasadhat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan na gati kutopi dhyayan stuvam stasya yashastri sandhyam vande guru shri charana ravindam. So, pleasing the pure devotee, pleasing the spiritual master, pleasing the advanced Vaishnavas, pleasing Srila Prabhupada, pleasing the Acharyas, and ultimately pleasing Krishna. This is what our line is all about. That we are interested in pleasing. This morning I was hearing a narration of Srila Prabhupada's second chance. So Prabhupada says there are 3 things which are essential to get knowledge. And in Gaudiya Vaishnava line, when we say knowledge, it means experience. We are not talking about information. Knowledge means experience. So what are the 3 components? He says, inquiry, submissiveness, service. So these are the 3 things which are essential for knowledge. How does that knowledge, how does it happen? I remember we had the good fortune of once having Bhakti Dhira Damodar Maharaj home for prasadam. So after he finished prasadam, he went and washed his hand, and I told him, Maharaj, please take your seat. And I started talking, asking him a question. So he said, before you ask me a question, I want to ask you something. He said, okay. I said, okay. Then he said, is this all? So I was not sure. Is he asking whether there is some drink or some sweet? I was not sure what exactly it was. So I asked Maharaj, are you asking if there is some drink or something? He said, no. You know how he is. He's a very kind, extremely kind person, but he's also very firm. So he said, no. Then I thought, maybe I was supposed to give some donation or something. Then I thought, maybe Maharaj, I did not give you a donation. He said, no. Then I kept on thinking, I didn't know what exactly it is. When he said, is this all? So then I said, Maharaj, I give up. Kindly tell me, what is it that I have not done? He said, you never asked me, are you pleased? The moment he said that, it really hit me that this is what Krishna consciousness is all about. It is not that we chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regular prayers, just go on like, one day we'll attain love of God. No, Krishna consciousness is all about consciously serving the Lord in a mood of submissiveness, in a mood of helplessness. It means advancing with superior Vaishnavas, pleasing them. Because how are we going to attain love of God? Without pleasing superior Vaishnavas, without pleasing the spiritual master, without pleasing Prabhupada. It's not an automatic process. Okay, chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regulative principles. Yes, Prabhupada did say that. He said chant offenselessly. But to chant offenselessly, you need the mercy of the devotees. Or you're just going to chant offenselessly. So, from there, and that really was a real turning point for me, where I began to understand very clearly that pleasing is the essence of Krishna consciousness. And I remember Gopi Parandan Prabhu once told me this, that you may have a very good spiritual master, you may have a very good teacher, whatever it is. It's not enough you go and listen from him and attend a Bhakti Shastri class and that's it. You got the knowledge? No, it's not like that. He said, you have to please. When they're pleased, they give you blessings. And when you get the blessings, then that knowledge is there in your heart. So, Krishna consciousness is about, I usually use the expression transplantation of consciousness. You have great devotees. So what do you do when you have great devotees? You go and inquire from submissively, serve them, inquire from them, do it in a submissive manner, serve them and please them. When they give you blessings, when they give us blessings, then the consciousness in their heart gets transplanted into our hearts. Of course, due to our lack of purity, it may even be a drop. That doesn't matter. One drop is also, as it says in Krishna consciousness, even one drop is as good as an ocean. But there is a transplantation of consciousness. There is a transmission or whatever you call it. their consciousness gets transplanted into our hearts. That's how we make advancement. We cannot just mechanically make advancement. Of course, when we chant Hare Krishna in a sincere mood, in a helpless mood, then all the Vaishnavas are pleased. The spiritual masters are pleased. Prabhupada is pleased. So we make progress. So because all this is a combined effect of all the Vaishnavas being pleased. So we should not forget this. And of course, Krishna also gets pleased. So we should not forget that our Krishna consciousness movement is all about pleasing, 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 pleasing. That's it. So unless we have focused on that, it's not a question of, okay, I read Bhagavatam. Academic scholars also write commentaries on Bhagavatam. Information, they may present accurate information, but do they have the experience? Do they have the knowledge? No. So it's very important for us that when we practice Krishna consciousness, we should be focused on this. Krishna consciousness is all about pleasing the Vaishnavas. Therefore, we have that Krishna se tomar, Krishna tumi dete paro, amito kangal. Yeah, what's it? Amito kangal, Krishna Krishna boli, dai tava pachi pachi. This is the essence of our Krishna conscious movement. Prabhupada said the songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas, they are the highest highest levels of bhakti they exhibit. And what is the highest level of bhakti? Running behind Vaishnavas to get their mercy. And today is also the Gadadhar Pandit's appearance day. So I wanted to say how he got the mercy of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And he became his disciple. Now, Mukunda Datta, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was born in Chattogram or Chittagong in Bangladesh. Last year, some of us had the fortune. Radharaman Prabhu is here. He was also there. It is an amazing place. You need to be there to experience what it is. It is very difficult to describe that place. It is surcharged with spiritual potency. You know when you're there, this is not different from Mayapur. This is Gauramandala Bhumi. So, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he came to Navadvip, and Mukunda Datta, he took Gadadhar Pandit to meet Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi was dressed in some very opulent clothes, and he was sitting on a nice opulent sofa. So the moment Gadadhar Pandit saw him, in his mind, of course in Kali Yuga it said if you commit offense in your mind, it's not serious. Of course, that does not give us a license to commit offense in the mind. But Gadadhar Pandit, in his mind, he thought, I've been brought in the presence of an exalted Vaishnava, but he's dressed like such opulently, and he's sitting on some very opulent place and all that, So Mukunda Datta could understand Gadadhar Pandit's mind. So he began to recite from the Bhagavatam. He specifically recited the verse glorifying Putana. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam jigham shayapayad api asadbi lebe gatim datri uchitam tatonyam kamvadayalum sharanam vrajema. So, this is a very beautiful verse which glorifies a killer of children. How Krishna delivered the killer of children. Like Putana, you cannot imagine somebody more heinous than that, who was a killer of children. And but even if it was faking, she tried to play the part of Krishna's mother. And Krishna, who can be more kind? We cannot conceive of Krishna's kindness. He gave her the position of being his mother, not impersonal liberation. He gave her the position of his mother in the spiritual world. So it said, how merciful, Kamva Dayalum Sharanam Vrajema. Who can be more merciful than Krishna? So when Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard this verse, he went into so much ecstasy. He began to rip the sofa, Usually people are very careful. Oh, children may do something. If children go to the house, oh, they're very, very careful. But here, he's sitting his own sofa, he's ripping apart the whole sofa, and he falls on the ground in ecstasy, and he starts crying. And Gadadhar Pandit thinks, what an exalted Vaishnava he is. And he thinks, I committed an offense in my mind. To make up for this offense, I need to go and apologize and take initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So that's how he becomes a disciple of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in fact, used to refer to him as Pundarik Premanidhi. He was an ocean of love. Of course, from this pastime, we should not try to think we are like Gadadhar Pandit and we can understand who is who, you know. So because Mahaprabhu said that, of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he brings up this point, what Mahaprabhu Bhakta Ganer Vairagya Pradhan, Se Deki Priti Hon Gaura Bhagavan. So, the most prominent characteristic of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Vairagya, which means they don't dress opulently, don't eat luxuriously. This is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers are. Somebody who is beyond it, like for example the Pandavas. You know, Pandavas, you saw how their lives, we all know how austere their life was. But finally when they got the kingdom, what happens? The moment Krishna leaves the planet, the Pandavas immediately leave the planet also. How is it possible? After so many years of struggle, they finally get the kingdom. Within a short time they give the kingdom. This is the Pandavas. They are eligible for that. They can inherit a kingdom and give it up in an instant. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi and pure devotees who attain prema, they are eligible for this. They can have opulence, no opulence, makes no difference to us. But for all sadhakas, we should be very careful that do not dress, we cannot get an opulence, we cannot get a license from Pundarik Premanidhi or Pundarik Vidyanidhi. That okay, we can also do that if some junior comes and don't commit offense. I am very advanced, you don't know my advancement. We cannot afford to do all these kind of things. That we have to always remember that we have to be lower than the straw on the street, more tolerant than a tree, and Mahaprabhu Bhakta Ganer Vairagya Pradhan. We should dress simply, not eat luxuriously. We should simply be immersed in the chanting of the holy names and the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is explained that the Bhagavatam is the life air of the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so I'll stop there. Just few minutes for questions, okay, if there are any. Yes, Ruji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, is there any regular tour to Bangladesh from Mayapur every year?
No.
Is there any?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
there are no formal tours that are being organized. Devotees go individually or, I mean, as groups, but they take individual initiative.
Okay. And one more, like in TOVP, the 14 planetary system of one universe
Yeah.
that had been exhibited. So it has been made, Prabhuji, or it is going to be made? What is
Going
that?
to be made, not yet made. Going to be made.
Going to be. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Like Srinivas Prabhu in the Panchatattva is the incarnation of Narad Muni.
Yeah.
So how about Gadadhar Pandit?
Gadadhar Pandit is the expansion of Srimati Radharani. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his incarnation, he doesn't, Krishna in all his incarnation is the enjoyer. But in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation, he is the enjoyed. You know, so he never takes up the mood of enjoyer. So Prabhupada explains like the Gauranga Nagaris, Prabhupada and his spiritual master have explained that Gauranga Nagaris means they think Lord Chaitanya is the enjoyer. That's Apasampradaya. Lord Chaitanya is in the mood of a servant. So all the associates of Lord Chaitanya, including his superiors, like Advaitacharya, everybody is in the mood of servant. So we can have only one rasa with Lord Chaitanya, which is as servant, no other rasa. Of course, his parents are there, Jagannath Mishra, they have parental rasa. And similarly, you have his wives, former wives, they were in the mood of a wife. But everybody else, including Advaitacharya, superiors, junior, everybody equals, everybody is in the mood of servant. So the only rasa we can have with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is as servant, because he himself is a servant. So we can become servant of his servant, that's it. So Gadadhar Pandit, he's an expansion of Srimati Radharani, but he's in a male body. So there's no, the spiritual body, but it is the male manifestation. So in Lord Chaitanya's pastime, there is no conjugal rasa and all that. It's only the rasa, it's a everybody is combinedly trying to serve Radha Krishna. That's what it is.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.